when it comes to these faith system, if you remove the man and the book, the faith system begin to crumble. It's man and the book. While Hinduism is about women, men, and the words, these systems are about man and the book. So that's the reason why the moment you go to question the historicity of Jesus Christ, it becomes the idea of bringing trouble to you, because then you are questioning the existence of Christianity itself, because Christianity's existence relies on the existence of Jesus Christ. It's very much depends on that. It's very much depends on its crucifixion. And
So
yeah.
like you were saying कि जीसस क्राइस्ट आए होंगे,
Yes.
वो कब आए होंगे उसके बारे में सर्टेनिटी नहीं है. अगर आप विश्वास करते
आए
हो
भी
आए
नहीं
थे
है
तो
तो उससे कोई फर्क पड़ता नहीं है.
नमस्कार, वेलकम टू अनदर पॉडकास्ट. आई एम जॉइंड टुडे बाय माय डियर फ्रेंड आभास. इनफैक्ट आभास भाई, मैं यही सोच रहा था सिंस द लास्ट टाइम वी मेट, आई थिंक दो बुक्स आ गई और आपकी एकदम इट वाज अ क्विक सक्सेशन. व्हाट वाज द टाइम गैप बिटवीन दिस वन एंड बाबर, बाय द वे?
15 days for the release. Yes. And though it's
वर यू प्लानिंग कि ये 15 दिन हो और इट जस्ट हैपेंड?
it was just a coincidence. I was just thinking that कम से कम एक महीने का गैप मिल जाए, 2 महीने का गैप मिल जाए, because the intensity of editing in both the books were quite a bit. And
Both the books are quite heavy. I think
Yes.
we're recording another conversation on your second volume of the book, Babar. Right now, we're going to discuss this book, which is called Hitler, the Proclaimed Messiah of the Palestinian Cause. It's published by Blue One Ink.
Yes.
And um, having read through a considerable part of the book, it's fairly heavy. It's educative. It does not feel it is loaded, but it does not feel as loaded. So I must congratulate you for the writing.
Thank you.
In fact, I think when you were on your way, I called you exactly to say the same thing कि बहुत मज़ा आया ये किताब पढ़ने के अंदर. But again, you were saying जल्दी पब्लिशर्स के बीच में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नहीं हुआ कि 15 दिन के अंदर एक और किताब? बिकॉज दिस हैपेंड बाय मी, इसलिए मैं पूछा था.
Yes, वो conflict was not between the publisher, it came more to me. Because I was in a dilemma, given that one book is in 20th century, as in set in 20th century. The other book is set in 16th century. There's a huge time gap. और coincidentally, unfortunately, fortunately, जो भी बोलें, I was dabbling also with different languages while I was working on the book. So, in fact, the effect of the work on the two books were also quite heavy on me. In fact, while this book, Hitler gave a lot of trauma to me, as in I was unable to gauge the kind of persecution which the Jews have had gone through. And in fact, I never thought that Palestinians would have done something like that. It was way beyond my imagination. And it so would happen that today I finished writing something on in this book Hitler, and then I have to then further carry on with that 16th century era where, of course, there are blood, there is violence, but not to the scale which exists in this book. So I was going through some kind of dilemmas. I was going through. um I can't express that. It's very tough to even express because I don't know if any author.
But is it possible to draw, if not a parallel, but compare who was more atrocious in their misgivings, the Mughals, Babur or Aurangzeb, versus the Palestinians on what they did to the Jews? So there are Islamists who did to the Hindus, and there are Islamists who did it to the Jews.
Yes. So we were surely going through the same phase of Holocaust in the past, and what Babur and his successor would do to the Hindus is no different than what the Arabs would do to the Jews in the days to come, 3-4 centuries later. There's no much difference. It so happens that because the technology is evolved, so with the technology, even the act of the violence do evolve. The way you persecute someone, and this is not something where we are going to discuss on the merit of the persecution, how good of a persecution is, how bad of a persecution is. Persecution is persecution, but there is no much difference in the playbook. it operates in the same way. And in fact, that's the reason why Hitler found a good ally among the Islamists. The intensity of the violence is what really excited Hitler, and he did not find it anywhere else but among the Islamists. And that's the reason why, when he criticized almost all the religions, including his own Christianity, he was of praise for Islam all the way along. And yes, it's we cannot make a case if Hitler was bad or Babur was bad. We cannot make a case that whether the Mughals in general were bad or the Nazis were bad. But we can say is they were definitely the people who wanted annihilation of a certain creed. The Mughals or the Timurids, as I call them, they wanted the annihilation of the Hindus. They wanted it, and they are very clear in their text. So was Hitler. He was very clear that the world needs to be freed from the Jews. A world need to exist where the Jews don't exist. And so, when you have the two ideologies which work on a principle of annihilation of some or the other creed, they become equally dangerous. They are very dangerous. And that's why I came up. This is not a term invented by me, but still I'm using this term quite often in the book. It's called Islamofascism, where I talk about this collaboration. And I make a case that the Islamism and the fascism get well together, and then when they come together, they become Islamofascism. What we are facing today, whether it's in Bengal or what we saw in Kashmir in the 1990s, or what we saw in Pahalgam very recently, what we saw in the Mopla genocide of 1920s in Malabar. These all are the same cases of Islamofascism. So they are same people. I don't make a distinction.
Are you arguing that there is this innate hatred for non-Islamists
Oh,
in Islam?
yes, I don't doubt it, and I'm very clear about it. Uh, that Islamists want the annihilation or the complete erasure of the creed which is non-Muslim. Jews become a part of it for sure, and there's a lot more verses about the Jews because it's the Jews whom they were interacting with.
Mhm.
It's
The
not.
Abrahamic faiths.
Yes, they're Abrahamic faiths, and of course there are words against the polytheists, but they are not interacting much with the polytheists, so you don't see that much of polemics. There are polemics against the polytheists too, like they are called the worst of the creatures in the theology, but still the constant battle with the Jews has been existing, and this battle is perpetual because it is said that the judgment day can't come until and unless the Jews are annihilated.
Hmm. Before we delve further into what Hitler was planning to do, or what motivated Hitler to go to this far an extent, vis-a-vis his, the extent of atrocities, let's get into a bit of the historicity of these faiths. We are arguing one side there are Islamists, the other side there are Jews. Um, these different faiths evolved in the same or similar geography. पहले कौन आया था मतलब you know I
Yes.
hope it's not a chicken and egg problem.
Yes, it is not. It definitely is not because the proto monotheism was already set by Zoroastrianism.
Hmm.
They had already given a direction, and
What is it? I'd like you to explain it with a bit of timeline also.
yes,
Is phase made अभी
yes,
बोलते हैं.
okay. So we see it in a way that after the Battle of Ten Kings,
Hmm.
certain tribes, the 10 tribes, were set to move westward, northwest, and one of the tribe which will go to the land of the Persia, and they will form a
Battle of Ten Kings in the Rig Veda.
yeah, Battle of Ten Kings in the Rig
There's a
Veda.
battle of Ten Kings in the Rig Veda. As a consequence of the battle, some tribes were asked to move
Yes,
westward.
yes. So because the Raja Sudas, who is leading the confederacy, and he becomes a victorious king. So after that, he asked the other tribes to move westward, northwest, and one of the tribe became the Persian, and for them, whoever was our Devta became the demon to them, and vice versa, or rather the enemies. So we see this instances in a very famous agreement between Hittites and Mitannis, and we have this inscription where the Vedic god have been invoked, the Varuna, the Indras have been invoked, and they have been spoken about. And this branch of the tribe, which goes to the Persia, later on comes up with a religion or idea of faith, which happens to become Zoroastrianism, where Zoroaster is the person. And at the same time, they are looking the world in four timelines.
Hmm.
They distribute the timeline into 12,000 years, 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Like how our Chatur Yug exists, they also have this division of 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. And but as the time progresses, now it has become very monotheistic in nature, where Ahura Mazda comes into the picture. He's the prophet, and he gives the direction of
Who was Zoroaster?
Zoroaster is considered to be the god, the from where the everything evolves. And Ahura Mazda comes as a prophet, and he further propagates the things ahead. And it's the idea of the Zoroaster which further propagates, and that's why it's known as Zoroastrianism. And they
It's a
have got
monotheistic faith,
it becomes monotheistic as the days goes
but
on.
at the origin and when
It is not. It's more of a monoism than monotheism. So it progresses further, and we get to know from their text with the Jain Avesta that they saw Hapta Hindu as one of the land. There's a Sapta Sindhu, Hapta Hindu. And that's the reason why when they were being persecuted by the people of Islam in Persia, they choose to come to India because they knew that this is their homeland. And this is further supported by the Kissai Sanjan, which is a text which talks about they coming from Persia to the place called Sanjan in Gujarat, where they were given the refuge under the king, Hindu king called Yadav, and they flourished here. But let's go back there, and the idea of monotheism has come into the picture, and it's happening way if we
this
have
we're roughly saying for Zoroastrianism, we're roughly saying around 400 BC, 500 BC.
A little earlier than that, though, because when we go for the online sources, they will tell that it's around 600 BC. But perhaps it was even way earlier because the ideas were existing, and the Battle of Ten Kings surely has happened way earlier.
Yes.
And as the Battle of Ten Kings has happened, this idea of germination of Zoroastrianism has begun already
Okay.
after that. And so it's
It
fairly.
found permanence and it became a faith over the next couple of hundred years.
Yes, something like that. Because once this idea of the prophet comes into the picture, that we have got the prophet, and Zoroastrianism is a faith and a religion. Because initially they have got 12,000 years. They have also got separation of time. They are also invoking the Vedic deities. It is going all through and through. But as the time progresses, this has become very monotheistic. There is only one God, and that is the proto monotheism which leads to the creation of the other faith system. Now, at the same time, parallelly, in the land of Canaan, Canaan is a place which we today know as Israel Palestine, the same reason, and that's where people begin to practice a religion called Yahwism. So Yahwism is a faith system where Yahweh is one of the many gods, but you are following the path of the Yahweh. Like when we say that Vaishnavism, of course, there are either other deities, there's Shiva, there would be Indra as a Devata, there would be other deities too. But here it's more Vaishnav in the nature, where the Vishnu is the central figure. Same happens with Shaivite too, where Shiva becomes a central figure. So in the Yahwism, Yahweh is a central god, but there are many other gods. Slowly and slowly, Yahwism transforms to become Judaism, wherein every other god has gone. It's only Yahweh who exists as a god, and so the cornerstone of the Abrahamic faith, or say the monastic faith based on the books, start, which is Judaism. And after the emergence of Judaism, say around after 1,000 years or so, we see the emergence of Christianity.
Okay, so Judaism, what timeline are we giving?
Say 1200 to 1000 BC.
Okay, and Zoroastrianism you're giving?
Zoroastrianism, I will give around 1500 BC.
Okay, so you're arguing around 2000 BC is Rig Veda's
Yes,
Battle of Ten Kings.
yes.
Okay. And 1,000 years later,
Yes.
Christianity begins.
Yes.
So what happens after Judaism?
So after the Judaism comes into the picture, of course they have got their own very different kind of theology where the idol worship is to be shunned. They don't believe in idol worship.
Judaism argues.
Judaism
But
is against
prior to it, idol worship was prominent.
prominent.
How about nature worshipping back then?
It existed. Yahweh is considered to be like a nature god.
So there's nature worshipping.
Yes.
That nature worshippers find a reflection in an idol.
Yes.
And then it turns into idol worship.
Yes.
Now Judaism comes into picture and argues that there's got to be no idol worship.
Yes.
But Judaism believes in nature worship.
Initially, it did believe in it because Yahweh was also offshoot of nature god.
Nature gods.
It's very much god of a nature, and so primarily speaking, it's the nature which has given the ingredients for the creation of every religion. If you look objectively, you pick any religion, it's always been nature has always been the inspiration. But slowly, when people lose the idea of the metaphorism, they get into the literal meanings. Like I'll just throw an example. If I say that sun god sits on 7 horses, few people will say that how can sun sit on 7 horses? But it's a metaphor where 7 horses represent the 7 light, 7 colors of light. White light consists of 7 colors.
With Gyo.
Yes, and so that's where the concept of the sun god sitting on the horses come, and it's a metaphor. The moment you get into the literal terms, that's when you become concretized monotheist.
Okay.
And that's what happened with the Judaism too. Slowly and slowly, the idea of the nature worship began to get shunned away, and it became more central to the point that there is one God who exists, who has created the world, and the creator God runs everything. And that's when the prophets comes into the picture. We don't have evidences of whether the prophets existed or not. I, being a student of history, will not vouch for the existence of the prophets, but it's their faith, their belief. I'm okay with it. I am
But
nobody.
Judaism is the first documented historical example of a faith which is evolved from nature worshipping towards a prophet-led system,
Yes,
and it operated on the fact, and it was against idol worshipping.
yes, yes.
And what are the other fundamental tenets of the faith?
So, of course, it's against the idol worshipping. It sees that there is only one God. As in, you say God and that's it. There cannot be other ways to look at it. It's comes with the idea that there cannot be pantheons of God. There is just one God. At the same time, it does not looks to propagate religion. It's not something where it will force you to convert to Judaism.
So it's more like a philosophical system,
Yes, it's more like a philosophical system. I believe in it.
much
I'm-
like our sects.
Yes. Which does not happen with the Abrahamic faiths, which will become as a offshoots. So as Christianity comes into the picture, which I would say is around 200 to 300 BC, as AD,
Okay.
not with the Jesus Christ, because I don't know the historicity of Jesus Christ for sure. And there are serious scholars who have put sense of doubt that whether he existed or not. But it does, again, being a Hindu, it does not affect me. I'm not saying because it doesn't it has to do with the Christianity, but in our Hindu system, it really doesn't matter that who that deity is, who that god is, if he exists or not. It's our belief cannot come in your rational path, but still you believe. Like in, I just throw the example of Ram Janmabhoomi movement too. This was more about the sense of the belief. We believe that Sri Ram was born at this site. That is what really won the case for us. That's the central idea of the Hinduism. But it really, if one wants to study about the historicity of Sri Ram, of course you're open to do it. Even if we don't find historicity of Sri Ram or Sri Krishna, does Hinduism will cease to exist? No, it will not, because it's not dependent on existence of a deity. It's very philosophical in nature. In the contrast, when it comes to these faith system, if you remove the man and the book, the faith system begin to crumble. It's man and the book. While Hinduism is about women, men, and the words, these systems are about man and the book. So that's the reason why the moment you go to question the historicity of Jesus Christ, it becomes the idea of bringing trouble to you, because then you are questioning the existence of Christianity itself, because Christianity's existence relies on the existence of Jesus Christ. It's very much depends on that. It very much depends on its crucifixion. And
So
yeah,
like you were saying कि जीसस क्राइस्ट आए होंगे,
yes.
वो कब आए होंगे उसके बारे में सर्टेनिटी नहीं है। अगर आप विश्वास करते हो
आए भी
आए
नहीं
थे
है
तो
तो उससे कोई
हमें
फर्क पड़ता नहीं है.
but Christianity did not come to being by the coming or going of Jesus Christ, but essentially a few years down the line did Christianity start converging and becoming a
Yes.
complete religion and a faith system.
Yes.
Judaism was not particularly keen at reconverting people.
No.
So essentially, it was operating much like many other faiths back in the day.
Yes.
Judaism did not have the idea of converting people into its faith.
Yes.
If people liked it, if people are following, it's much like in some ways like Hinduism. Ki nobody can tell you you're Hindu. If you believe you're Hindu, you're a Hindu.
Yes.
Okay. So now Judaism से Christianity के अंदर evolution कैसा हुआ? Because it is all happening in that same land and same geography. कि some tribes are essentially following Judaism, and then Christianity evolves, and there's a lot of literature and a lot of movies and drama around it. Even some call it mythical propaganda around it also. I wanted to address this question from a historical POV. What was happening in that land? Judaism से Christianity कैसे बना?
So, I will give you first a Marxist point of view here because that's very interesting. So, Karl Marx was writing his works along with Engels. His Das Kapital happens with him, and uh,
They were good friends and
yes,
collaborators in many ways.
they exchange a lot of notes. They exchange they co-authored works. So, according to Engels, the only religion compatible with communism is Christianity,
Hmm.
because he saw that Jesus Christ was the rebel against the kings, the monarchs, and so it was a socialist movement according to him. And any socialist movement has to be the part of, or rather, is more or less a part of a communist ideology.
Hmm.
If it is a socialist movement, so this is how exactly the things really transpired, as the story, the biblical story goes, because the Jewish kings were doing atrocities against the people.
Hmm.
The tenants existed which were not very tenable to the people, and that's when the Jesus rises, and he said that he's son of the God as per the Christian faith system, and he comes to redeem the people, and there always was the quest to find a new book and a new man, as I said initially. So because they had the Moses and the Torah.
Yeah, I mean, let's also, because the reason I was discussing Judaism and this evolution towards Christianity is I wanted to understand कि ये कौन सा time phase था बीच में where Jews became the most powerful, um, if not a religious force, just most powerful community of people living in that area. तो ये कौन से time phase में हुआ था?
So they were not powerful, I would say, because they were being persecuted constantly. Apart from the kingdom of Israel and kingdom of Judah, which existed before the era of the Christ, after that it started to vanish. As in, once the kingdom of Israel began to vanish, kingdom of Judah began to vanish, they became very powerless people.
We've missed a few links in that case then. Let's go back a bit and find out that Judaism was established around 1200, 1300
Yes.
BC. It flourished. Uh, Help us understand Kingdom of Judah, Kingdom of Israel first.
So we have got two kingdoms. One is the kingdom of Judah, other is the kingdom of Israel. Judah comes first and Israel comes later on.
Timeline.
It's, you can consider 500 to 7 BC.
Judah comes into picture.
Yes, and just after that, in a gap of 100 years or so, kingdom of Israel also pops up, and these are the land of the people, the Canaanites. Canaanites are the people who have begun to practice the religion of the Judaism. So it was very obvious and natural that because they're already practicing this religion, so the place where they are inhabiting, that will become a Jewish state by default. And the kingdom of Judah is considered to be more powerful than the kingdom of Israel because of King David, who would come later on. And King David is considered to be one of the most important king. And as the thing goes on,
How did this kingdom emerge as well?
Because it was a very natural process that the process of civilization is happening. Now people have moved on from living a life as nomads. They are getting organized. The cities are being built. So that's where the city of the Judah and the city of Israel or the kingdom of Israel comes into the picture. And
And why the conflict? Why two kingdoms?
it was just very natural. It was not a deliberate attempt to make two different distinct kingdom. It's about the identity of the people. They considered them as a people of Judah. One considered them as a land of the people of the Israel, and Israel is again the promised land for the
So when Canaanites call promised land, they are calling for Israel or they're calling for the same
the whole
geography?
land was the promised land to them. Even the
Because
land of Judah was and the term which is used in the Bible is Israel almost all the time. But the reason what it refers to is includes the land of the Judah and the land of the Israel both.
geographically, modern day, where is it?
It will be Palestine, Jordan,
Hmm.
West Bank,
Hmm.
and Gaza surely is a part of it, and where the Israel exists today, a part of Sinai, which is in the Egypt, that also becomes part of it.
That's also very important,
Yes.
central to the
Yes.
faith system. So ये जो geography है, इस geography को आपने मतलब these guys called it promised land or
Yes.
land of Canaan. इस land के अंदर without any conflicts, you're telling two cities existed. Those cities eventually emerged into two kingdoms.
Yes.
And those kingdoms were not necessarily fighting with each other.
No, they were skirmishes, but like you will always have this territorial fight. But it was not of the
But it was very, in a way, the how civilization progressed.
yes, yes.
So दो cities हैं, दो cities emerge होके एक kingdom बने, अलग अलग दो kingdoms बने. They were following the same thought process, same philosophical systems, and naturally, as we're discussing, they're following the same religion.
Yes.
And that is when, as a consequence, also otherwise, of the establishment of this faith and this political structure in place, they are now becoming big power centers.
Yes.
But are they converting people?
No, they are not.
They're
They're
not
still not
converting.
converting
So
because
everybody who was living there is essentially just following the same faith and coexisting peacefully.
yes.
Okay. What next?
So I see it a very natural process as a natural process too. It so is the case that because majority of the people are the Jewish themselves, they're not even desire to convert anyone because while everyone is even if a few people are those who are not following of faith system, they are pagans as they call them.
हाँ पाकिस्तान में मुसलमान हिंदुओं को कन्वर्ट कर रहे हैं लॉन्ग टाइम के लिए मुसलमान को थोड़ी मुसलमान बना
Yes, exactly. So it really was not mattering to them, and it was because of virtue of the time and because of circumstances which made it as a faith system which would not go on to convert. Like Hinduism also was like this, that it never went to convert because सब हिंदू ही हैं तो आप किसको convert करोगे? It was never required for it to be a missionary religion. So it happened with the Judaism too. But as we progress in the time, they saw the invasions, especially the invasion by the Assyrians that broke the land of the Judah badly. And with that invasions, the thing have begin to change drastically. They begin to become a powerless people. And that invasion broke them largely.
Was that invasion also in some way driven by faith, or was it just a fight for resources?
It was just a fight.
For
It was
resources.
not a fate-driven fight as of yet. But before that, already Christianity has come into the picture.
Okay.
So, as in when the Christianity comes into the picture, it's more of a rebel against the Romans. Now, the Jewish kings, which we are talking about in that very land, they don't go by the Jewish identity, but they go by the Roman identity.
They don't go by the Jewish identity, they go by Roman identity.
Yes.
But in this case, has the Roman identity found of, the fulcrum of religion?
No, because they are still the pagans. They are still the pagans, the Romans.
So even the Jewish, for the longest time, were calling people who are not Jews as pagans.
Yes, so basically, who do not have organized religion as the pagans. So that's why often a lot of people bring this nuance that it's not right to call Hindus as pagans because we had some to some extent an organized system. We are not the people without a religion. We have our
But
yes.
your way of describing our organization or your way of understanding, you can't perhaps understand how we organize our faith, and which is why you're perhaps calling us pagans. Is
Yes.
that right way to put it?
Yes, yes, you can. Yes, this, we can put it this way.
So we now know that Jews were firmly established in the area, and um, they were pagans. The Roman state,
Yes.
in terms of understanding, this is also again the understanding of the Jewish people. Okay, these guys are pagans.
Yes.
But what were they following?
So they were following nature worship. They had a lot of practice which is common to we the Hindus. Like they will cremate the dead
Did
bodies.
one of our tribes go to Rome also?
Yes, we have Rome and we have the Greeks.
After
present.
the Battle of Ten Kings.
Yes, yes.
So
They go to the Egypt too. So there can be the thing. So there's a whole hypothesis built by the people who vouch for out of India theory, where that Egyptians also got the civilizational ethos from this land. Of course, there was civilization there. It would be very wrong to say that everything emerged in India. Like many people want to make a claim that everything happened in India, there was nothing elsewhere, which is a very wrong take to make because if there's a human living somewhere, they will progress. That's the nature of a human being. And they had the civilization, but as far as the sophistication of the Vedic philosophies, which carried along with the Vedanta, which many people make a claim that it's not a claim, it's not proven to that a lot of Greek philosophy has the roots in the Vedantic philosophy, etc.
There's a lot of proof.
Yes, because the Greeks themselves spoke about it. So there's a saying that Babylonians were already discovering the algebra before the Indians, but then the case comes that these are the Babylonians are no different people than these Vedikas who traveled there, and maybe that we don't know exactly what happened. But neither I am interested to make a claim that every mathematics happened here. I have no interest in doing it, irrespective of where it happened. Of course, Indians were good in it and happy to know it. But at the same time, I cannot deny the fact that a lot of things got driven out of India.
Yep.
It was driven out, and they brought a lot of cultural value to the other places. And that's the reason why a lot of practices of the Romans were very identical to that of the Hindus. Whether it's a cremation of a body, the way they look at the deities, the gods, etc., everything, it can be natural also.
So that is perhaps the worldview of the Romans.
Yes.
And this is how the Jews were viewing the Romans as. And then the Romans come in, or people who, not the Romans per se, but the people who relate to the Roman thought process and Roman
Yes.
ethos, they come and attack the kingdom of Judas.
Romans too. Romans have already established a kingdom near to the Judah. That's where they are. But the Judah as a kingdom is existing. It's not being affected by the Romans because they are in their own thing that what they want to do, and is the before the Romans when the Greeks are existing, and they have given this term called the Palestine. Palestine has evolved as a term, and Palestine was necessarily the term for this very geographical land. It had nothing to do with the religion, and many people say that it was more of a synonymous word for the people of Israel also, Palestine.
Okay.
So there's a sequence here. The kingdom of Judah and Israel has come. The Greeks have evolved as a civilization, and the Greeks have given a name to the land
Of the Jews.
Yeah, the Palestine. They have already used this term, and after the Greeks, the Romans have come into the picture, who are also pagans, and there's certain Jews, the Jewish clan, which has carried the flag of the Romans and established a kingdom where Jesus would be born later on, the Nazareth and the land of the Jerusalem, surrounding that area, and because these people who are representing the Roman Empire happen to be Jews, and they are doing the atrocities on the people of the Nazareth.
Now, so again, what are the atrocities that they were doing?
Atrocities was more in the line of the taxation.
Okay.
They will not be the temples were controlled by them. They began to control they did not wanted to convert people, but still there was some control in the religion, as in that you will not be led to practice what you want to practice. It will all be by the dictate of the rulers, and these dictates are very Roman in nature. We can't say that they are Jewish in nature because this kind of prescription that you have to not let people practice their faith is not Jewish in nature. It's very Roman in nature.
Okay.
Because this is a very different topic, but I will just bring it to the lore of the people that a lot of people have a theory that Sharia law is very much identical to the Roman law, and how the Romans wanted to treat their subjects. That's how the Sharia happened to become. So this was very Roman way of controlling the people, and that's the reason why people began to rise against the emperor, and that's where the story of Jesus Christ comes into the picture. He is the son of a god. He's that Messiah because
So by this time, what you are arguing is कि kingdom of Judah और kingdom of Israel के अंदर Roman state का influence significant हो चुका था,
yes,
and they were also perhaps structured and functioning in a way, and this was more a political system जिसकी foundation एक religion जो faith था.
yes,
As a rebellion to that political structure,
yes,
a new faith emerged.
yes,
That faith did not emerge as a religion on day one.
No.
It emerged as a rebellion against the state.
yes,
And in order to bring people around and turn it into a movement, a faith emerges.
yes,
And that religion is called
Christianity. And we don't know exactly that what Jesus wanted, whether he existed or not. But surely from 3rd century AD onwards, we see that the ideas of Christianity is propagating, the idea to establish Christendom, etc.
But again, with the same premise and the same operating principles as Judaism, that there's a prophet and there's a book.
Yes, the man in the book, as we say. There has to be a man and there has to be a book. And so, in the Christianity around 4th century AD, there's a new thought process comes. It's called Aryan Christianity.
Yep.
And this Aryan Christianity is a little different because it for the first form of Christianity, which tries to define Trinity in a different way, it says that Jesus is not the Son of the God. And because Jesus is not the Son of the God, so what is very interesting is that this is the central premise of Islam too. That Jesus is not the Son of the God.
Oh.
That's where it begins. And because what makes Christians different from the Muslims, the first thing is how they look at Jesus. Islam looks at Jesus not as the Son of the God. Christians look at Jesus as the Son of the God.
Really, but there are also subsects in Islam who treat or who consider
Prophet.
he's a
Prophet.
but not the son of the
Not the Son of the God.
Okay.
So, and that's the reason why the what becomes very interesting that when you ever go to Dome of Rock in Israel, Jerusalem rather, you will see that the verse which is written inside the Dome of Rock is the saying that Jesus is not the Son of the God. This verse also appears from the Holy Quran, and where it's talking about Jesus. Even though this is the very site where Prophet Muhammad went to the seventh heaven and brought the 5 prayers. This is the very site where he flew on the horse slash donkey. We don't know the name of that creature is Burak with the winged horse or the donkey, where he flew to, and he meets Moses, and Moses says him to go and meet the God and bring the prayer. He first go to the seventh heaven and brings 50 prayers. Moses said it's too many. Then up and down prophet does, and that's where he comes with 5 prayer. Then Moses said that okay, fine, this is good enough, and now please you go and propagate the 5 prayers. That's
So Prophet does not go, or Muhammad does not go to Christ. He goes to Moses.
yes,
Okay. Why is Moses central to the Jewish faith?
because he was the one who gave them the way to get away from the slavery of the Egyptians.
Okay.
That's where the story goes. It's a biblical story.
It's a biblical story, not
Yes.
a story that the Jews primarily would agree to.
It's a Jewish Bible, the Old Testament.
The Old Testament, okay.
So that's where the story comes from. And now he comes with the prayers. So ideally, you will expect the Dome of Rock should talk about this instance, which we call as Mirage. But it talks about Jesus Christ. Why it is talking about Jesus Christ? And that too in the way that how the Muslims will like it to be called that he's not Son of the God. So it was the one of the strongest proclamation against the Christianity from the land of Christian, where the Jesus was supposed to be crucified. That's the very land, and so it was a statement being made against the Christians. It was a statement.
And these are Assyrian Christians.
Yes. So now, no, these are the
Assyrian Christians who
Aryan Christian,
idea. Aryan Christians, sorry.
Aryan Christians have the idea that Jesus Christ is not the Son of the God.
This evolved into Islam.
Yes. So that idea evolved into Islam, and that led to the creation of Islam. So now we all can believe that yes, Quran happened, and this, I as a Hindu have no problem, because we believe, we have a belief system. We literally have a belief system. We don't have a historical system where we say that if this God exists, then only my faith will exist. I'm okay with it if anything is mythological. But the moment you create these standard narratives of Christianity or Islam into the myth, that's where the problem starts to happen for those faith systems, because their existence relies on the historicity of the prophet, the historicity of the books, the historicity of how the truth is being told through those holy books, which is not the case in Hinduism. So, why this Dome of Rock talks about Jesus is because that's the central idea of the Islam, the condemnation of Jesus in a way that he's not son of the God, but he is just a human being.
So is the Prophet.
So is the prophet. They accept it, and so that's why they call Jesus or the issue as the prophet, the Messiah. They don't call him as the son of the God, and that's the reason why Dome of Rock is a very the point of view of in the point of view of Jews also becomes very essential, because then the question goes that if the Dome of Rock was built on the site of the Jews, why no Jews opposed it back then? We don't have an account. In fact, we have an account which supports that when the Caliph, I'm missing the name of that Caliph, Abdul Malik, was building the Dome of the Rock. That's when the Jews, in fact, helped to build it. So, was it the case that Jews were looking to build this second temple again? We don't know. We don't know what exactly the scenario was. So what this basically tells you that we don't know that what was the faith system of this caliph called Abdul Malik, because we have the iconographies of Abdul Malik where his image is put. In Islam, you can't make the iconography of the peak of people like caliph, etc. But his picture exists. So if Islam had already came into existence as we are told, we shouldn't have got the iconography of it. We should have had the story of the Prophet Muhammad flying to the heaven to get the prayers at that very site. It shouldn't have spoken about the Judaic idea, because as per the Judaic idea, the Jesus Christ was not crucified and he's also not son of God. That's what the Jews say. This is the central idea of the. So necessarily that building is giving you more of a Jewish idea than the Islamic idea.
But why is that the case, though? Why is that?
Because
I'll simplify and correct me if I'm wrong. So we know Zoroastrianism aya, then we know that it evolved into Yahwism. We know that it then evolved into Judaism. Judaism found permanence with support from a prophet named Moses, who brought largely a structure to a philosophical system or to a faith system. Moses was, according to Old Testament, a prophet. Was Moses also son of God?
No.
No, he was the first prophet. Was he the first prophet?
Abraham is the first.
Abraham is the first. So Moses comes into picture. Judaism is established. Roman state comes into picture. There's a larger structure, both theological as well as political structure taking shape. As a consequence, that land of Canaan is finds structure in both public life and social structure, political systems, faith, etc., etc. But as a rebellion, Christianity comes into picture, because there is a set of people who are not following the same thought process, and they were being taxed, or they were not allowed to freely propagate their faith. So it comes as some sort of a rebellion against the existing structure, and around that Christ and Christianity develops. Christianity also has at the center of it a prophet, the man Jesus Christ. We can go into his historicity, but again, that naturally, as we know, then later converts towards again another faith comes in. Why does another faith come in? Why? The central question is, Islamists hate Jews. The Christians and the Islamists, they're also fighting against each other. Um, why is it that, and how is it that on the same land another third religion has to evolve? वो उसकी existence क्यों आनी चालू हुई है उस time पे, and at a scale and with some principles which are so forceful, that for many it becomes a cage that they cannot perhaps step out of, because there's still a very small number of ex-Muslims.
Yes, and so see, when these instances are happening in the era of Christianity, as in when the Christianity emerges, Judaism has already become a weak faith.
I'm sorry, there's an important point. Judaism has become a weak faith. Christianity, does it have the idea of propagating or converting
Yes,
people?
it has.
So Christianity starts to spread like a
Yes.
wildfire.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How does, and we know that Judaism has gone weak because it does not have the idea of conversions.
Yes.
Christianity is flourishing over the next 500, 600 years.
Yes.
Let's argue for the sake of it that it started around 200 AD. Okay. From 200 to 696 or so AD, there's gone 400 years. In these 400 years, Christianity has spread like a wildfire.
Yes.
What is the need of a new faith now?
So, when you look at that era, you have got two empires. One is the Persian Empire, which is existing, and the second very
This era that we're talking about now is 7th century.
6th century वगैरह के आसपास, 5th 6th century, when the Islam is going to come into the picture, and there's a Byzantinians who are very powerful. Now, any empire which flourishes has always flourished with the religion, and if I further expand it, with a man and a book, as I've been pointing out, right from Zoroastrianism to, it's always about man and the book. Now, because the Byzantinians have a man and a book, now if you want to counter the Byzantinians and to be someone like the Persian wants to have their vassal come into the picture and go against the Byzantines, you need a man and the book, because the man and the book binds the people. And so, when the fragments were picked from Judeo Christian text, and then those fragments happen to become the Quran, like you pick and cut paste from here there, so that's why you see a lot of mix of it. Like in Quran you will find that Jesus is spoken about multiple times, around 93 times or so, but Muhammad only 4 times. Of course, Islamic apologists have other things to say, that they will no, Muhammad is just a term for the most revered, the most lovely person, and all those things. But still, Muhammad has been spoken about without taking his name. Apologists will come up with this idea, but if you see that his talk in this book is talking less about Muhammad. So largely this is collaboration of lot of Judeo-Christian texts which have been existing, and they created a book. They wanted a man, so came the Prophet Muhammad.
Who created the book?
The people who wanted to counter the Byzantines. They wanted a book because
Wasn't necessarily Persians.
not Persian, the vassals of the Persian.
Okay.
So the people who necessarily so the Persian wanted to defeat the Byzantinians, so they wanted to create their own foot
What
soldiers.
you're arguing is they were experimenting with multiple strategies,
Yes.
and this strategy seems to
Yes.
have found success and given them considerable
Yes.
clout. Okay.
A lot of people often say that they were the some rebel group of the Christian and the Jews themselves who were
Who decided कि नहीं अब
let's stitch the book together and do something. So that's why you see a lot of grammatical errors in the Quran. You see there's no chronology. You will find Bible is still very chronological, grammatically very well
so these were
structured.
not the smartest of men who were doing the job.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So now they got a man and they got a book, and so that's where the establishment of the empire of the Islam comes. When I'm using the term empire, I'm very careful about it, because even Christianity was living with the belief of creating Christendom. They wanted the empire of the Christianity too. So, and the Byzantine Empire was necessarily a Christian empire.
So essentially, what you are arguing is that आफ्टर क्राइस्ट और ये पिछले 2000 साल के अंदर रिलीजन बिकम्स सेंट्रल टू सिविलाइजेशनल लार्जर सिविलाइजेशन परसूट्स. कोई किंगडम बन रहा है, उसका फंडामेंटल उसका धर्म बन रहा है.
Yes.
This we've seen now as an example Christianity के अंदर, and as a counter to Christianity or as a counter to the power structure which endorses Christianity, there comes another power which is looking for another faith system, picking up brains from the former one
Yes.
to give a larger, put a religion in place.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So that's why
But who was
Islam.
Prophet Muhammad?
I don't speak about it anymore, but I have the answers. Maybe I can tell you offline.
Okay.
Yes.
ठीक. So that being said, we've largely understood the idea of how Islam comes to picture. We've largely understood the idea of who the Jews were. Um, let's cut through the next 1000 years. We know that Christianity is spreading like a wildfire. We know that Islam is spreading like a wildfire. Naturally, both of them are getting entangled in multiple conflicts, and these just go on. And that's how the entire subject of history of religion comes into picture. How has Hitler become so anti-Jewish? I am of the understanding, and I think we were discussing it off camera before the recording began, that there was a Palestinian Muslim behind Hitler's hatred for Jews. Is that the case?
Yes and no. Yes, because of course there are very strong evidences that Holocaust was not just the brainchild of the Nazis, but it was a push from a Palestinian Arab. His name is he was known as the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, and Hajj al Husseini, Amin Husseini is what how we know him as, and he was a great friend of Hitler, and he gave him this idea that extermination should happen, and as far as the Hitler's hatred for the Jews is concerned, it came from the very notion which existed in the Germanic world back then.
Mhm.
Because the hatred against the Jews was a very natural phenomenon which continues from the emergence of Christianity. Because initially, when Christianity is very hostile towards the Jews, and the Jews are being persecuted by the Christians too. It's not that it has been great for them
Okay.
with the Christians.
So the Christianity rose from the Jews,
Yes.
but it hates the Jews.
Yeah, for obvious reason, because they
Now-
blame the Jesus Christ crucifixion to having been done by the Jews.
The
Yes.
second point being, you argued that Islam ki formation and the five prayers essentially come after a conversation with Moses.
Yes.
So what is the reason for Islamists to hate Jews?
So Islamists hate the Jews because Jews are not the people who are following the seal of the prophets, which is the Prophet Muhammad. And
So idea was, so correct me if I'm wrong, कि जुडाइज्म या जूश फेथ गिर रहा है, क्रिश्चियनिटी स्प्रेड हो रहा है, क्रिश्चियनिटी को काउंटर करने के लिए इस्लामिक फेथ आता है जो इसी जूश टेनेट्स से कुछ प्रिंसिपल्स उठाता है. उस टाइम पे विद द थॉट प्रोसेस एंड आइडिया ये चल रहा है कि जूश फेथ गिर रहा है एंड इट इवेंचुअली डाई परहैप्स. ठीक. So there is no reason for them to hate it now.
yes,
Right now, as in when the faith was being established. However, this faith does not die, right? And this faith has this um, fundamental tenet of converting people.
yes,
And this faith does not believe the tenets of this prophet, which came two prophets after, two prophets later. So, excuse me. So, as a consequence, we are seeing a scenario that these guys are being hated by Christian, and there's a strong reason for it, at least from the Christian perspective. But when it comes to Islamists, they hate him or they hate them because they are not following their leader.
yes.
Is that it?
Largely so.
Okay.
And if we get into nuances of it, um, See,
How much of these nuances are historical and how much of them are mythological?
nuances will be very theology based,
Hmm.
because these nuances which I'm talking about say that if a Muslim practices his faith today, it is not based on history, but it is based on theology. That's what drives him to do what he wants to do. He prays 5 times because we understood where, because Muhammad flew on a winged horse slash donkey. I don't know what was it's called, Burak. And this certainly is myth, because he wouldn't have flown and brought. But you're practicing those 5 prayers with a myth.
How did Moses get his enlightenment?
He
There's
met. Yes,
climb, nah? He did.
he also encounters the angel, and the angels conveys the word of the God to him, and that's where the story goes back. There, it's the sequence and the narration of the story is identical. An angel comes into the picture, he transfers the word of the God, and God interacts with the prophets. That has been a common modus operandi all throughout. Whichever prophet you pick, it's very common. But here in the case of Islam, what has happened that it's today also you see that there's a concept of waqf land.
Yeah.
It's more about the property. And both this Christianity and the Islam, as in the Byzantinians and the new evolved faith of the Islam, were looking to establish more and more territories. It was more about a territorial expansion, and this territorial expansion based on one ideology. As in, because ideology is something which binds the people together. Ideology is something which defines that, okay, this is my triumphal land, this is my land, so that you can say that it is all under one banner. This was a central.
That is exactly how the idea of jihad also comes into
Yes.
picture, na? That you bring the people who follow the same faith together against
Yes.
the non-believers. Okay.
Yes. So this was more about the property, as in more and more expansion, more and more land you have, and you get into this central idea. Now, the Jews are the people who are not following the Quran. They are not following, which is the words of the latest prophet, which is, and the Prophet Muhammad is called the seal of the prophet, as in he's the final prophet. There cannot be any prophet after him. It's done. It's a done deal. But the Jews are saying that we are not going to believe it because we believe that the truth was given to us in form of the Old Testament. The Christian is saying that the truth was given to us in form of the New Testament. We are not going to believe in the Old Testament. That's why the New Testament came. The Muslims are saying that we are neither going to believe in the New Testament and the Old Testament, though we will pick from there. That's why we will give enough. We understand that all these were the prophets, and we give them due respect, whether it's Abraham, whether it's Moses, right? We give all of them enough respect, but the words which will supersede all of them is of the Prophet Muhammad. This is your software update now.
Okay.
And please accept it. If you don't update it, your phones should die off. This is what Islam told. And that's the reason why this hatred for the Jews became constant. And there's some theological underpinning too. There's a whole story that Banu Qurayza was a Jewish tribe, which broke a treaty with the Prophet Muhammad. And that's why Muhammad chose to slaughter them. The people were slaughtered, the women and the children were taken as the slaves, while the men were slaughtered, beheaded, is what we read in the Quran and the Hadith. So, because they betrayed Muhammad, so that's the reason why they went ahead to continue the battle with the Jews. And now, why did they betray Muhammad? So, what Muhammad was essentially trying to do, as per the standard Islamic narrative, is enforce Islam. You have to follow Islam, and if you don't follow, you are doing something wrong. Now imagine that someone comes walks into your office and says that now the rules which will apply will be that of the office which is adjacent to you, and you have to follow it. If you don't follow, then and you first say that okay, let's have a deal that we will agree to some of your point of views, and after a month you suddenly decided, hey, I'm not going to follow it off because my own office practices are getting hampered, and you choose to break that treaty. Then the person of the other office comes and says that how you can do it. Now you are the betrayer. We are going to kill you. This is what exactly had happened. This is what exactly had happened, and that's the reason why the Jews became the perpetual enemy for the Muslims, because they betrayed Muhammad, and betrayal was more about that the deal was broken, and That deal was about letting Islam spread as
Are you
things.
telling me this is the fundamental reason why Islamists hate the Jews?
This is one of the many reasons.
One of the primary reasons?
One
or
of the
second?
primary reasons.
Okay.
And later on, they call them the people of the book, which is the dhimmis. People, so dhimmis are the people who are the people of the book, as in you have got a man and a book, as I was talking about, but still because you're not believing the prophet, so you're dhimmi. Being a dhimmi, you will pay the jizya, and you will wear a certain kind of clothes so that you can be recognized that you're a dhimmi. You cannot build your synagogues, that Jews were not permitted to do it, and you cannot practice your own religious thing. There were a lot of things which were put against them, and I have put a Pact of Umar as an appendix in the book, which really states out that who is a dhimmi and what they're supposed to do. There's a contract between a dhimmi and the people of the book and the Muslims. So, and it is said that it is you're the protected people. So protected from whom? Obviously, it's first you are coming barging in as a gunda, and then you are saying that now we will
No,
protect
let's
you.
broker a contract because I'm not going to kill you.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was more like that.
Fair enough. So back to the same question. Um, Hitler uh, found an enemy or constructed an enemy in the Jews. Two questions here. How did Jews from this land, which was being persecuted, and as a faith they were being persecuted, end up in this bigger number or sizable number in Germany? One. Second being Hitler found an enemy in them, but it was a Palestinian Muslim who gave the idea of exterminating them, and as a consequence, all of that happened. So expand on both these ideas, both these questions.
So Jews were being driven out from all these places where they lived, as in the regions of the Canaan, the different pockets. And because when the Islam came, they were being systematically persecuted. Of course, as long as they pay the jizya, they can save them. So at least they will not be killed. But still, it's a humiliating life. And so they began to migrate in the other regions, facing the persecution. The only a bit of peace which came, it was in the Ottoman era. But again, Ottoman era, though they were not being slaughtered, but there were strict jizya policies. There were strict the policy of the dhimmis, which still they had to follow. And to get rid of this, they began to migrate in different parts of the world, including the land of the Europe and Germany. And the mass migration happened in Europe. A lot of people later on migrated in as much later, say 18th century or so, to the United States of America too, when it has come into place. And by 19th century, a lot of people have gone to United States of America because they are being persecuted in the Russia. The Tsarist regime, the regime of the Tsar was very anti-Jew, and they slaughtered Jews. They prohibited them to build a synagogue. So, almost the same thing what Romans had done in the past was being done by the Tsars too.
Is migration a reason why they are becoming enemies of everybody?
No, migration is not the reason. It's just that they were not the faith who imposes themselves on the others, while all others faith. It's like we are asking a lamb to drink the water on the same river bank where the lion is going to drink. It cannot happen. And that's where it's a very different debate. But Article 25 to 30 of our constitution is more like that. And when we make this equivalence, that because the Hindus don't propagate the religion, but the other ones can propagate. So how it can
No,
be even
so I'm
feasible?
also trying to draw the same contrast here. The Hindus were not very expansionist. They found this land, and they were propagating their faith, or if not, they were professing and practicing their faith, right? And then there are kingdoms and their faith-led empires coming from outside and trying to capture this land and capture this and convert people. On the other hand, we've got people in Canaan who follow a faith, and they are perhaps, and from the same land, there are two other faiths which have emerged. Now, these people, for the sake of their own existence and just for their own survival, are surviving here and also moving out And wherever they are going, it seems that in the 19th, 20th century, they're facing a conflict and somebody is killing them because the other two faiths have also propagated fair enough.
Yes.
Is that wise way to
Yeah,
say?
that's very true, and that's exactly what happened.
Oh, wow.
And
And this is how Jews ended up becoming um, hated by the Muslims and
yes,
Christians, and they ended up becoming um, uh, a common an enemy for everybody. And wherever there was nationalist forces would rise, they would become the enemy. So, as in the case of Germany.
yes, and also there was a lot of propaganda materials which were created. See, one is that you are having your theological differences, that's fine.
Yep.
But then when you create a propaganda material and you circulate it to the world, like today when you choose to stand for Israel, people will say that Yahudis are equally bad because they're Abrahamics. There's a reason for a lot of problems in the world. They will give you some classic examples that whatever evil happens is because of the Jews. This is what you will get to hear. But where it is coming from? This is coming from a Tsarist propaganda material called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. So this was a material in a book produced in the Tsarist Russia, which was copy or plagiarism of a play,
Okay.
where the villain was made into a Jew. It's like Control F, replace all the world. The villain became Jew, and wherein and it was said that it has been written by the Jew.
Mhm.
The Jew have propagated this idea that this is how the world is going to work. That's why it's called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. And later on, it became the material for Hitler to spread hatred against the Jews. It became the material for the Arabs to spread hatred against the Jews. Today in India also, there are a lot of handles on X and many other places who will say that Jews are behind this and Jews Holocaust never happened and all kind of stories will come. But all these stories are coming from the same playbook of the Tsarist Russia, which was later on adapted by the Nazis. So these propaganda also materials also further created hatred for the Jews.
Mhm.
Like Indians have no skin in the game, if you look at it this way, or rather Hindus have no skin in the game. But why should Hindu have hatred for the Jew? But it exists. It is because of that propaganda material.
Well, that being said, and I think we've been enjoying this conversation, and I think this conversation can go for hours and hours. You've done a remarkable job in putting this book together. I think I must congratulate you, and I think uh, you've given me good fodder to work on a fresh new subject myself. Thank you for that. And your pace of writing, the style of your writing has been remarkable. Of course, this conversation can go for hours, but we'll have to bring it to a limit. Congratulations again for publishing this book,
Thank you.
Hitler, the Proclaimed Messiah of the Palestinian Cause. Um, before we, um, you know, stop this recording, um, I just want to ask you: were Jews or have Jews afflicted violence at this larger scale as the Christians or Islamists have anywhere in the world? Has there been an example?
No, we don't have. Actually, we don't have any such broad example.
Okay.
And yeah,
That being said, thank you very much.
my pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. For all the viewers, do read this book, Hitler, the Proclaimed Messiah of the Palestinian Cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you.